Why do you need new bands? Everyone knows rock attained perfection in 1974. It's a scientific fact.
Yeah, sure, whatever you say, homosexual. So, there was this year called 1974.
Tell me a lie. Don't worry about my sorrow.
And it was eventful. Connect 4 was invented that year.
I went. Where? I can't. Here, diagonally. Pretty sneaky, sis.
Richard Nixon got caught doing some bad shit, so he had to leave DC with his tail between his legs. But most of all, we remember the music. So much so that we have given it a special name. The worst year ever.
Lord, I think my belt will break Virginia. Touch me like you do. Touch me like you do.
You have probably heard more than a few people declare 1974 as music's rock bottom. Or if they're feeling really generous, the rock bottom below music's rock bottom. I myself have always been fascinated by that. How is it that one year is so unanimously declared as the worst year ever for music, even more than 50 years after the fact? It's a subject I've always known that someday I'll have to tackle. Since I make videos about weekly charts, it would be difficult to get the feel of the entire year by just looking at a couple of weeks. But then I got an idea. Why not look at a bunch of weeks throughout the year? And that brings us to our intro. Welcome to CHRusin the Charts.
You know you got to do something to get in the mood. Mr. Bunch will call a mom and daddy to you. Look at our go-talk show what good influence can do.
This is a series where I take 1 week in the past and just look at the Hot 100, go over the hits, the misses, and of course, the weird stuff. And I'm aware that with this chart being for February 1974, it means that a good amount of these songs are really holdovers from 1973. And it wouldn't be fair to judge the whole year when you're only looking at the second month of it. Still, 2 months in is a good place to look at how it starts. You might not know exactly what to expect in the months to come, but you'll have some kind of idea. And throughout the year, I'm going to use this series to come back to 1974. So I'm basically going to be studying this supposed bottom feeder year for music. The plan is, come October, it'll culminate in a worst and best list. Hopefully I will have already driven myself insane by then. Well, let's begin our epic look at this toxic question mark year with the top 10 from February 23rd, 1974. At number 1 was Barbra Streisand. Yeah, that's how you know things are bad, when Babs is at the top.
All the way we were.
All the way we were. I actually really like that one. One song I didn't like is Seasons in the Sun, going up 10 spots to number 2 and eventually taking the top spot later on. I will say this, the original French version is hilarious. Go look that up sometime. And we got the Queen of Soul going up 1 spot to number 3, and then we got another song going up 1 spot to number 4.
I remember when Mary Lou said you want to walk me home from school.
And look at that, we've gone into weird territory. So this song, Spiders and Snakes by Jim Stafford, is about a guy walking a girl home from school. But instead, he brings her to the woods, where he gives her...
Said there's frogs for you. And she said, I don't like spiders and snakes.
Something gross. Yeah, it's one of those things. I'm gonna freak you out because I like you, ha ha ha. If you're into stuff like that, I'd recommend looking up this anime called Inexpressive Kashidawa and Expressive Uta. It's basically that stretched out to an entire series. Alright, just gotta do one thing. There, I added it to my spooky season playlist. So now let's move on to Love's Theme, dropping 3 spots to number 5. Then at number 6, going up one spot, is Jungle Boogie. And at number 7, also going up one spot, is Boogie Down. The 70s. Great decade for the word boogie. At number 8, going up 2 spots, is Rock On by David Essex.
Hey, kid, rock and roll, rock on, ooh, my soul.
Wonderful. And now, if I may, we're gonna go on a little detour because I have to show you what the 80s did to this one. Oh yeah. So this Corey-looking fellow is Michael Damian with his 1989 cover of Rock On. He played Danny on The Young and the Restless. The 80s. Great decade for soap opera stars doing music careers, but this dude was no Rick Springfield. The song itself was recorded for the soundtrack to Dream a Little Dream with Corey Haim and Corey Feldman. And Corey is exactly the word I'd use to describe this. He just took the original and turned it into a radical 80s mess. By the way, this went to number 1. Yeah, for 1 week in June of 1989, this desecration of an all-time classic was the top song in America.
See her shake on the movie screen, Jimmy Dean.
James Dean.
For context, the original version only went to number 5. 4 spots less, but a billion times better remembered. So now, let's get back to forgetting that slop version. Oh wait, one more thing though.
It's alright, 'cause I'm saved by the bell.
Yeah, you remember Saved by the Bell, right? Especially that catchy, infectious theme song. You know who sang that? Michael Damian. Yeah, how's that for a hard trivia night answer? And at number 9, our first big drop, tumbling 6 spots, is You're 16 by Ringo Starr. And if I could put myself in the shoes of someone who might have been listening to this at the time...
You're 16, you're beautiful, and you're mine.
Ringo, you're 33 years old. Knock it off! And finally, rounding out the top 10, dropping 3 spots, Olivia Newton-John with Let Me Be There. So we've got a mostly decent top 10 with a couple bad apples scattered about. And now let's take a glance at some losers. To begin with, there were a handful of notable dropouts from the previous week, like The Who falling from number 100, Donny Osmond falling from number 71, and then Teenage Lament 74 from number 68, Top of the World from number 64, Hello It's Me from number 63, Hell on Wheels from number 58, then we say goodbye to Goodbye Yellow Brick Road from number 55, and we also say goodbye to War. Yeah, a lot of very good to excellent songs left the chart that week. And as for what we still got, Show and Tell went down 7 to number 18, while The Joker went down 5 to number 23. Then there's Brownsville Station, smoking in the boys' room and flushing their butts down 4 spots to number 26. And speaking of smoke, Smokey Robinson went down 7 to number 34. Then we see the Allman Brothers' eternal classic Jessica dropping a couple spots to number 67, while Greg himself would go up 1 spot with his own eternal classic, Midnight Rider at number 19. And this brings us to the bigger losers, starting with Barry White going down, hardy har har, 11 spots to number 39. But he debuted at number 100.
Honey, please, can't you see you same? Can't you see you gave me?
That song would only go as high as number 44, though. Also dropping 11 spots was Gladys Knight and her Pips. While Stevie Wonder fell 10 spots to number 33.
Just enough for the city.
That song rules, by the way. Another song that fell 10 spots is I Shall Sing, down to number 55.
I shall sing la 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 la.
Oh, Art Garfunkel, you really tried to hang in there. That song also rules. And then we got Paul Anka, going down 7 to number 87.
Let me get to know you.
Not the worst thing he'd have on the chart in 1974. That would come much later. Okay, I have a question here. Did you happen to see The Most Beautiful Girl in the World?
So hey, did you happen to see the most beautiful girl in the world?
And if you did, was she making a big drop 16 spots to number 45? Well, tell her I'm sorry, but she didn't get the biggest drop of the week. That would go to Time in a Bottle, down 20 spots to number 46.
But there never seems to be enough time to do the things you want to do once you...
Both Stone Cold classics would leave the chart the next week. Now let's go to our gains, and we have way too many of them on the chart, so forgive me if I just talk about the ones that stick out to me, like Mock, Ing, Bird. Come on, you're supposed to say yeah. Oh, let's just play the damn thing.
Mock, yeah, Ing, yeah, Bird, yeah,
Mock, Ing, Bird going up 9 spots to number 21. Redbone, gotta mention that one, going up 3 spots to number 32 with the theme from F is for Family. Highly recommended if you haven't seen it yet. We've also got the OJs going up a couple spots to number 11, Cher the Dark Lady going up 5 to number 16, then looking further down, Hall & Oates up 6 to number 80, and Dolly Parton's signature song Jolene going up 9 to number 64.
Jolene, 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 Jolene. Please don't take him just because you can.
And it will eventually peak at number 60? Oh, Billboard. Let's move on to some of the bigger gains, like this song called We're Getting Careless With Our Love, going up 12 to number 54.
It's getting hard to meet the deadline. We're getting careless with our love.
It's a song about cheating, with a little nod to me and Mrs. Jones.
And we don't want to be like Mrs. Jones. We can't meet at the same place.
And speaking of which, here's Billy Paul going up 15 to number 61.
Thank you, baby, for saving my life.
Then at the funny number 69, we've got Mr. Rhinestone Cowboy himself, Glenn Campbell, going up 10 spots.
Houston, I'm coming to see you.
And going up 15 spots is Rock and Roll Hoochie Coo. Stupid fucking title, but who cares? It's a fucking rocker. Love it. And then we got Fat Elvis, I don't mean that as an insult, ballooning up 19 spots to number 53. And hey, there's Sir Elton again, going up 18 spots with an absolute classic. Speaking of Jets, we also have another absolute classic, shooting up 20 spots to number 27, like a jet. And this brings us to me being tasteless and bringing up John Denver, who flew up 15 to number 24 with some sunshine on his shoulders. And Mokadatis would touch the wind 12 spots to number 22. Okay, I'll stop with that gag now. Anyway, here's Gladys Knight and the Pips again, this time making a big gain, going up 20 spots.
'Cause you're the best thing that ever happened to me.
Meanwhile, we've got Tavares up 9 to number 76, the Four Tops up 7 to number 68, and Charlie Rich up 8 to number 36. And here's something surprising. The Everybody Plays the Fool guys got a 22-point boost up to number 62.
I just don't wanna be lonely. Rather be loved.
And that song went to number 10, so do not call these guys a one-hit wonder. You can call Steelers Wheel a one-hit wonder, though, on a technicality. Their follow-up Star rose 8 spots to number 44 on its way to number 29.
After all you've been through, tell me what will you do when you find yourself out in the cold?
But now, let's look at the biggest gainer of the week. And it's the one that goes ooga chaka, ooga chaka.
I can't stop this feeling deep inside.
Yeah, here we go. Our first indication that 1974 was gonna be weird. Blue Swede shot up 28 spots that week.
I'm hooked on a feeling.
To number 58 in its second week on the chart. And from there, it would just keep going up, getting the top spot in April. So we'll probably have to deal with that thing the next time we get to 74. But now, let's look at our entries and some odds and ends. We got a lucky 13 songs entering the chart that week. I already mentioned Barry White at number 100, but we also got Tubular Bells at number 99, Tower of Power's all-time classic What Is Hip at number 98, and how about Midnight at the Oasis at number 97? Surprisingly strong bottom 4 we got already. Then we got Piano Man at number 94, and BTO with Let It Ride at number 77. And then there's Bob Dylan at number 73, dusting himself off from the failures of Self-Portrait and Dylan.
On a night like this, I can't get any sleep.
But let's step back a bit though and look at Diana Ross and Marvin Gaye at number 84.
Love you, girl. Love you, girl. My mistake.
Then there's the Staple Singers at number 79.
Reach out, touch your hand. Make a friend if you can.
With Touch a Hand, Make a Friend? Okay. But the highest debut of the week went to Charlie Rich at number 63 with a very special love song.
A very special love song.
That makes 3 times he showed up on the chart that week, by the way. And with that, it's time to give a quick mention to some of the, oddities on the chart. Like this song called Daddy What If, falling a couple spots to number 43.
And so on. What would happen then?
Well, if the wind stopped blowing.
Yeah, that's his actual child. Don't you feel bad for cringing at it? Or how about this band called Wednesday going up a couple spots with,
Oh, where can my baby be?
well, it's better than the Pearl Jam version at least? Or going back to the entries, we got this song called Outside Woman entering at number 91.
'Cause you're the outside woman. Don't feel bad. Yeah.
Outside Woman meaning a woman that isn't his wife. God damn, the early 70s must have been a great time for cheaters. Joey Greco couldn't come fast enough. But now here's one for the heartbroken. Tyrone Davis going up 8 spots with a song about how he's seeing his old girl with some new guy.
I said I wish it was me, love.
Oh, don't we all, buddy? And now let's go a little further down, where we see the Crude Oil Blues going up a couple spots to number 96.
We're low on heat on, we're low on gas. And I'm so cold I'm about to freeze myself. We got the crude oil blue.
Now, that's a nice, fun little timely novelty song, seeing as how it's the early 70s and we're in an energy crisis. On that note, let's talk about Energy Crisis 74.
Mr. President, what really caused the energy crisis?
Smoking in the boys' room.
During the crisis, how much gas will motorists be allowed?
Just enough for the city.
That's That song, and I use the term very loosely, went up 16 spots to number 40. And yeah, just like how the early 80s had those Stars on 45 mashups, the early 70s had these political satire skits that would use clips from popular songs at the time. I think I touched on this a bit when I talked about 1973. Basically, Dickie Goodman would make these pieces where he would be the interviewer asking questions, and then he'd play a sample as the answer for comedic effect.
With me now is the head of the Federal Energy Office. Sir, you hold an important position. What are your qualifications?
I'm a joker, I'm a smoker, I'm a midnight toker.
I'm gonna assume that these skits got most of their airplay on the Wacky Morning Zoo or the Wacky Drive Time Show. Gotta admit, it's more creative than the staged prank calls they all do nowadays. And with that, it's time to do some deep digging. I've got 5 songs that I want to talk about at length, and we're gonna start with a bad song called Abracadabra.
Don't you know it feels like magic, baby, what you're doing to me?
Going down 9 spots to number 41 is Abracadabra by the DeFranco family. So first off, what I meant is that Abracadabra by Steve Miller is good. Fight me. Alright, so this is the DeFranco family, a group of 5 siblings named... Is it DeFranco or DeFranco? I don't know, who cares? Well, they're basically the Canadian Jackson 5. They did have a hit with Love Beat.
It's a love beat, and a love beat is your vibration.
Which is a nice little song that I actually really like. But this follow-up single was just... These stupid sounds. Yeah, it's trying its best to be a rocker.
Show me now. Show me now.
Show me now! 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 Shut up, kid.
And it always sets me rocking and reeling when you disappear.
So it's about how your love feels like magic, girl. Gotta say, if this is what they think magic sounds like, well, it's little wonder they disappeared after this. You like that gag? Took me all of 2 seconds to come up with that one.
Won't you show me some more?
Again, those stupid sounds. I get that it's supposed to symbolize magic, but going back to Steve Miller again. Now that sounds like actual magic. This sounds like meh. So yeah, there we go. A stupid song to get us going. We're gonna get stupider later on, but before we do, why don't we take a look at what is low-key Springfield's biggest band?
That's all I'm saying. Get that gasoline. Get that gasoline. Get that gasoline.
Going up 8 spots to number 70 is Get That Gasoline Blues by NRBQ. So if you watched a lot of Simpsons episodes, particularly from the Mike Scully years, you've probably seen this band show up a few times. Yep, that's them, and yes, they actually have been around that long. I was kind of surprised to find that out.
I was walking down Main Street carrying me a big gas can.
Well, this would be the only time they'd chart on Billboard, but yeah, these guys are legit. It's also a good representation of their sound as a whole.
I might as well get me a mule. Give me an ass. Get that gasoline.
This right here is just plain old rock. Something you'd hear from a house band, which they actually were for The Simpsons at one point. It's just the simplest sounding rock and or roll song you can make. In fact, I actually should be calling this simple rhythm and blues, being that NRBQ stands for the New Rhythm and Blues Quartet.
Give me $1 worth of the cats in the pump we drive. Come on, at least give me a gallon.
And And it's about running out of gas, because remember, we're in Energy Crisis 74. I like how the horns kind of sound like car horns, and we got a cool guitar solo. So yeah, I like this one better than the Crude Oil Blues. That said, they're both nice fun songs about something that isn't so fun. This is just a little more fun. Not bad from the guys who gave us the theme song to The Pits. Don't remember this show? Well, there's something to look up the next time you decide to do drugs. Speaking of shows, you know what I feel like watching right now? Some old commercials from 74. Let's go!
Fred, I told you, you dance the merengue all night, you get a headache.
Oh.
You eat 5 enchiladas with chili sauce, you get a heartburn.
Oh.
I'll give you some Alka-Seltzer.
When you have upset stomach with headache or body aches and pains, Alka-Seltzer has antacids and specially buffered aspirin for quick relief.
The Alka-Seltzer worked.
Good. We've got another party tonight.
Oh.
The 2025 Vocaloid Awards. Join us for an hour of fun tunes and great times. Click the card in the upper right-hand corner or the link below in the description.
It becomes almost part of you, this camera. You focus, frame, press the electric button. The camera seems alive, like an extension of yourself. You watch your creation come to life, and minutes later, you're looking at a print, almost as real as life itself. Polaroid's SX70 land camera.
Alright, we'll get back to cruising in a little bit, but if you're enjoying what you see so far, then be sure to leave a like, comment, and subscribe if you haven't already. And if you want to support the channel, we got a Patreon link in the description. For $1, you can vote on future vids, for $2, you get Discord, and for $5, you get early access. And now let's get on with our next highlight. And if this were a worse list, then by God I would have it on there. Entering at number 71 is The Lord's Prayer by Sister Janet Mead. It's literally just the Lord's Prayer set to music. This thing would go on to peak at number 4, appropriately enough, on that year's Holy Week.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done, on earth as it is in heaven.
The reason I would have it on a worse list is plain and simple. This shit's not for the charts, it's for Sunday school! Leave it there! Well, let's look at Sister Janet Mead, who, yes, was an actual nun. She was born in Australia and basically grew up in the Catholic faith. When she was a teenager, she started a band to provide music for her church's weekly mass. It was simply called The Rock Band. I honestly love that. Hey, what should we call ourselves? Well, we're a band and we play music that could probably pass for rock. How about The Rock Band? Wouldn't be any stupider than just calling ourselves The Band. Clearly, they never set their sights on going big, just simply being the house band for the Catholic Church. I don't think Sister Mead was looking to go big either. She just wanted to combine her faith with her love of contemporary rock music. So she probably had no way of knowing that what she was doing would help plant the seeds for the literal affront to God and Jesus known as Christian rock.
Give us this day our daily bread. Forgive us our trespasses,
This was around the time CCM as a whole would start to become a thing as part of a Jesus movement that started in the late 60s. They would call themselves Jesus freaks, and they would call this stuff Jesus music. I wonder if they drank Jesus juice.
Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
And holy Christ, it doesn't get more Jesus-y than singing the Lord's Prayer. Our Father who art in heaven. Wait, are we sure God is really a he? Seems more like a they-them to me.
Our Father who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name.
Sister Janet Mead would pass away from cancer in 2022 at 84 years old. She would never chart again, not that she ever wanted to. She did not enjoy the success the single had, which actually led her to question her faith. That said, she did still make music and art, but only on her own time, and for fun. She didn't even keep any of the money that she made off of the single. She donated it to various charities instead.
Thy kingdom come, thy will be done.
So yeah, this song is pretty tacky, but you know something? Having looked at the sister behind it, she was someone who always had her heart in the right place. R.I.P. Sister Janet Mead. May you forever be singing the Lord's Prayer in heaven even after everybody tells you to knock it off. Alright, what do you say we dig for some more gold? Up 7 to number 81 is Quick, Fast, in a Hurry by New York City.
Just call me quick, fast, in a hurry, and I'll come running to you.
So remember how that nun from earlier had a band called The Rock Band? Well, here we have a quartet from New York City, and they're called New York City.
When you need a friendly conversation.
But while the city itself is the Big Apple, these guys were not big. They did hit the top 20 once with I'm Doing Fine Now.
Girl, I'm doing fine now. Without you, baby.
That song doesn't seem to be very well remembered either, but I love me a good song about how I'm doing alright so my asshole ex can just buzz off already. That would be a nice one to revive on TikTok. Influencers, get on it.
Promise that you'll make a resolution, oh baby.
This one's kind of the opposite. It's about how whenever you're feeling down, you can just call me. Quick, fast, in a hurry.
Quick, fast, in a hurry, and I'll come running to you. I'll come running to you.
How appropriate, because New York is all about doing everything quick, fast, and/or in a hurry. Actually, for a band called New York City, this is very Philly soul sounding. I wonder who produced this. Oh, shocker!
Everybody needs it at some time. Just call me quick, fast, in a hurry, and I'll come running to you.
Well, this would only make it up to number 79. I'm guessing it's because we already have Lean on Me, and this is kind of the same thing. But hey, it's nice and enjoyable. Pleasant gem with a surprisingly catchy hook. Quick, fast, in a hurry. Yeah, that's not leaving my head anytime soon. Well, I hope you all enjoyed that palate cleanser. 'Cause I saved the weirdest thing for last. Or should I say, the weirdest thing. Going down 6 spots to number 12 is The Americans by Byron McGregor.
When distant cities are hit by earthquake, it is the United States that hurries in to help.
And going down 15 spots to number 48 is The Americans, parentheses, A Canadian's Opinion by Gordon Sinclair.
And now newspapers in those countries are writing about the decadent, warmongering Americans.
Okay, what in the Great White North is going on here? Well, for those wondering, the Gordon Sinclair version came first. He was a Canadian journalist who would go on the radio and talk about current events. On June 5th, 1973, he wrote a piece for CFRB 1010 AM in Toronto.
And this Canadian thinks it's time to speak up for the Americans as the most generous and possibly the least appreciated people in all the world.
He spoke some about the events that happened over the southern border, tornadoes were destroying the Midwest, the Mississippi River flooded, the US dollar was losing value, and worst of all, Red Cross wasn't getting funded.
Well, who rushed in with men and money to help? The Americans did, that's who.
Sinclair then went on about how America was seen as this savior nation who, when others were facing hard times, would come in and offer some help. But whenever America was facing hard times of our own, we had to go it alone. And in this Canadian reporter's opinion, it's just not right. And that's just so nice of our neighbors to the north. Really makes us never want to elect some fucking dunce who just wants to put tariffs on them. Now, this piece wasn't released as a single, but it must have struck a chord because it would get significant airplay. But it wasn't until another Canadian radio host, Byron McGregor, got a hold of it and decided to do his own reading.
Now newspapers in those countries are writing about the decadent, war-mongering Americans. I'd like to see just one of those countries that is gloating over the erosion of the United States dollar build its own airplanes.
So he read the piece on CKLW 800 AM in Windsor, Ontario. And being that Windsor is right across the river from Detroit, that meant Byron's version would reach America. And after the station received a lot of requests, they put out a single version with the Detroit Symphony Orchestra playing America the Beautiful in the background.
You talk about American technocracy, and you will find men on the moon, not once, but several times, and safely home again.
That version would go on to peak at number 4 at the beginning of '74. And then shortly after, Gordon's original piece was released as a single with Battle Hymn of the Republic in the background.
When the railways of France and Germany and India were breaking down through age, it was the Americans who rebuilt them.
And that version would go on to peak at number 24. At 73 years old at the time, this made Gordon Sinclair the second oldest person to chart, 2 years behind 75-year-old Moms Mabley in 1969.
Has anybody here seen my old friend Martin Luther?
With an interesting cover of Abraham Martin and John. That title would eventually get bested a handful of times, most recently in 2024, when Ariana Grande's then 98-year-old grandmother appeared on her song Ordinary Things.
And when he'd come home and I'd see him and he gets off that train, it was like God Almighty arrived.
Yes, it was part of an album bomb, but it still counts, okay? Back to Gordon's version, that makes 2 different recordings of the same spoken word piece on the same chart. Now, what do I think of it? Well, it reminds me of that Sunscreen song.
Remember compliments you receive. Forget the insults. If you succeed in doing this, tell me how.
You might or might not remember, but in 1999, film director Baz Luhrmann put out a spoken word single of someone reading a graduation speech. And for a while, it charted and was even played on pop radio next to Britney and Backstreet. The title was Everyone's Free parentheses to wear sunscreen, but we all just called it the Sunscreen song.
Can you name me even one time when someone else raced to the Americans in trouble?
And that's kind of what this is, the Sunscreen song for the boomers. In fact, much like the Sunscreen song would go on to be parodied by Chris Rock, this piece would get the satirical treatment.
Whenever there's a fire, a flood, an earthquake, or another act of God anywhere in the world, who gets there first with cameramen, photographers, reporters, and color commentators? The Americans.
From none other than Chevy Chase. So yeah, bizarre little novelty, but given what it's about, I can see why it was a hit. It was there to lift up American spirits during a tough time, and it worked. It was something we all needed at the time. Oh, and one more eensy-weensy tiny little thing.
Why does no other land on Earth even consider putting a man or woman on the moon? You talk about Japanese technology.
There's a third version.
You talk about American technocracy and you find men on the moon, not once but several times, and safely home again.
Yes, this version from country legend Tex Ritter, issued as a single shortly after his death in January '74. And here we see it at its peak of number 90, the last time he ever charted on Billboard. Oh, and he was also the only American to have released a version of this piece, having been born in, where else, Texas. So now that makes 3 recordings of the same spoken word piece on the same chart. The early 70s were just built different. Whether that's a good thing or a bad thing? Yes.
That it was broken. This year's disasters have taken it all, and nobody has helped.
There's gotta be a rain in your life to appreciate the sunshine. Oh, yeah. There's gotta be a